Hey everyone, Ryan McMullen here, the co-founder of 18 Strong, and today I'm going to show you how this little diagram here that we drew on a napkin is going to so simply explain why it's not your fault that you've ever failed at a training or a diet program, and how this next time is going to finally be different. And we're going to do that by avoiding one single, very simple thing. But before we get there, let's start with the only 5 components you'll ever need to reach your golf and fitness goals. And the first is time. And this is a tough one because I understand how busy our lives can get, but you absolutely have got to set aside time every day, 5 times a week, whatever it is. You've got to set aside that time for your health and your well-being. There's no getting around it. The second is setting realistic expectations. Nobody on this planet is going to lose regularly 10 pounds a week. You're not going to add 50 yards to your drive in a single lesson. So don't set yourself up for failure. Your long-term goals absolutely can be lofty, but you need a realistic path for success to get there. Third, you need to stay pain-free by, first, being physically prepared for the course, and second, doing workouts that help you improve but are not going to push you too far. Because if you're injured, then you can't exercise and you can't work out, and you can't get back on the course, and that's when you start down this really frustrating downward spiral. Fourth, you need to be accountable to the daily commitment required to reach your goals. Now, whether you have a partner or you're disciplined enough to hold yourself accountable, you've got to have that in your brain every single day. And being accountable may be the most important component to reaching your potential. And finally, the glue that holds this whole thing together are rewarding workouts. And a rewarding workout, it's one that you enjoy. Because we see so many people give up on training programs because they become bored and frustrated with the process. And willpower, that'll keep you in the game for a while, but it's only going to get you so far. You need to find a reward in the activity, not just in the results down the road. So let's think back to the last fitness program you started. Whether it was weight loss, getting into better shape, committing to hitting balls a few times a week, whatever that was, think about how excited you were when you first got started. You had that thought in your brain of six-pack abs, chiseled physique, shooting lower scores every week, smashing longer drives like DJ does, and it really almost keeps you up at night just anticipating the new and improved you, and it's a great feeling. And all 5 of those components, they're easy to work into your life at that point because nothing is going to get in your way. Now, here's the rub. One of the hardest things to do is to sustain that level of excitement and motivation. And what happens is when you lose that excitement, you begin sliding down what we call the failure loop. So let's do this. Let's take another look at that little diagram on the napkin I showed at the beginning of the video. And we're going to add some info so you can get a clear picture of exactly why it is that we fail. So what we do is we measure each of those 5 components we just talked about in 2 ways. So first, do you like it or do you not like it? And then second, are you motivated or are you not motivated? And again, when you start, you're at the point where you're willing to do anything and your motivation couldn't be any higher. So what we do is we tick the boxes like so, because right now at the beginning you like everything and you're motivated about it all. So at this point, you make time for your workouts and you put them on your calendar in black magic marker. Your expectations are super high. The workouts, they're new and they're enjoyable. You've got someone or something keeping you accountable, and you're healthy. You're injury-free. So all the stars are aligned to finally reach your goals, right? So let's take a look at this. What we do is we create a 2x2 matrix with motivated and not motivated on the left and like and don't like on the top. And then we mark each quadrant, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Then remembering how we measured all those components, we plot where they fall in the matrix. So here are your 5 things: your time, expectations, pain-free, all those good things. Now, obviously, because you're gung-ho right now and at the height of your motivation, all of your components are going to fall into quadrant 2, which makes perfect sense. Now, let's think about how you feel in each 4 of these quadrants. And this is really where the psychology comes into play. For example, in quadrant 1, the lower left quadrant, when you like what you're doing but aren't motivated to do it, that's when you start to feel depressed and guilty and even maybe lazy. If you're in quadrant 2, so the upper left-hand quadrant where you are now, you like what you're doing and you're motivated to do it. So in this case, you feel positive, happy, and fulfilled. Now, quadrant 3, the upper right hand, you are motivated, but you don't really like what you're doing. So you're going to feel a lot of frustration, a lot of boredom, and you're going to start to overcomplicate things, is what we've seen happen. And then finally, in quadrant 4, in the right hand, the bottom right, you don't like what you're doing and you're not motivated. Well, obviously you're going to feel unhappy and miserable, and that's just a terrible, terrible place to be. So you can see at the start of your program, you're going to be happy and fulfilled, and you're motivated. Now, let's start at the beginning of your training program to sometime in the future. You see, you'll keep making time for your training, you're enjoying the workouts, you've got someone or something keeping you accountable, and you're staying injury-free. Again, this is where we all start. Now, as time moves on, and you're doing the same things over and over again, you're going to begin to not like some of the things that you're doing, mainly because of the repetition of most programs that are out there. And if you measure your motivation and your don't likes, the cluster will start to move somewhere into quadrant 3, where you start to feel bored and frustrated. Now, as time wears on even further, and after you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, well, you're going to see the cluster moving down into quadrant 4. And that's where you're just completely unhappy and miserable. And if you haven't already, this is where you quit. Now, this is all nice and neat, but what is the point of this whole thing? So the track of clusters that you measure as time goes on will move up, and then it's going to move to the right, and then it's going to move down, and this is what we refer to as the failure loop. Now, here are a few points about the failure loop. When the curve is at its maximum height, there we go, right there, your program is just completely doomed because you've reached the point of decline. And sure, some people can stick it out for a while using sheer willpower after they get to the point of decline, but that is always, always the beginning of the end. So what is the point of the point of decline in this whole thing? And it's really pretty simple. Every program, whether it's a diet, exercise, weight loss, whatever you're doing, has a failure loop attached to it. You absolutely cannot escape it. But what you can do is just work your tail off to stay in quadrant 2. You need to be just totally aware when you start to drift towards that point of decline. And at that point, you need to take a step back, figure out what changes you need to make to continue to stay positive, to stay happy, to stay fulfilled and motivated, no matter what program you're on. So that's it, guys. The failure loop, it's a very handy little device you can use to predict the point at which your program is about to begin failing. So please keep this in mind as you're trying to get into better shape, or improve your golf game, or lose weight. It will definitely help you. So, as always, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.